The current date is April 29th, 2022. Welcome to the Time Capsule podcast, where we'll be looking into the future, discussing the present, and reminiscing about the past. By the time we revisit these episodes, perhaps we'll be married or even have kids. Anything can happen. But the point is that we won't be coming back to these recordings for the next 20 years. You, however, sitting there listening to this podcast, can revisit these episodes anytime you like. So, let us begin.
Hey, welcome to the Time Capsule podcast. What's up, guys? It's Jake here. You got Brian, you got David.
What's up?
Welcome back to yet another month here on the show. It's March. How are you boys?
I don't believe you.
It's April.
That was a test. Good job.
Okay.
It's April.
I love
and
how
we're here.
I love
I
how
know I'm a little
Brian's
slow
answer
today,
was,
but
I love how Brian's answer was it's April and mine was I don't believe you.
You guys passed the test with flying colors. I'm proud of you.
Cool.
I gotta keep you on your toes, you know.
One test I can pass.
Anyway, how are you boys?
I'm doing wonderful.
not too
Yeah.
shabby. Not-
Anything new and exciting in your lives? I definitely have stuff.
Let me think. Other than just buying and playing new video games, nope.
I
Okay.
am... Well, yeah, buying new video games. I am officially a lube tech now at Honda. I'm no longer in that hybrid position.
Sorry.
Right. Congratulations, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job.
Shut up.
All right. Well, hey, before we get any further, I will talk about what's new for me as well. But I wanted to make a sort of little PSA for all you out there listening. So, if you follow our YouTube channel at all, you'll know that before this podcast is uploaded, the latest upload before that was a video of the three of us testing a donut maker from the 1970s.
Oh yeah.
And I was the editor of that video, for anyone curious. And I ran into a little issue as I was, trying to cobble all the video together into one, into the final product you can see on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe and smash that like button. No, okay.
Stop.
So the thing is, the video for whenever I was holding the camera, it was filmed with a digital camcorder, right, with a flip out screen, and they're kind of modeled after the tape camcorders from the 80s and 90s. But any close up shots that we had on our little tiny tripod were filmed using David's iPhone. And the thing about iPhones that I'd unfortunately forgotten until I was sitting there in the editing bay, trying desperately to get everything to work with each other, is that iPhones record video in a .mov video format. Now, most devices you will use record in MP4. That's the universal file format for videos, and that's also what most software is programmed to be compatible with by default. Now, it used to be for context, I use Windows. And it used to be, even in the early days of Windows 10, that their software on there was by default compatible with .mov files, as well as a bunch of other ones too. It was pretty versatile video player. And I think at first it was just Windows Media Player, but recently Microsoft came out with a new video player app called Movies and TV or something like that, and it's got a blue clapboard with a play button on it. And with that rollout, they also updated Media Player,
Yeah.
and any other old software that still runs on Windows 10. So now .mov files are no longer compatible by default, and what you have to do is when I tried to play it in the player, it was you need to download this additional codec. I was like, okay, all right, it's one codec. How much could it cost, Michael? $10? No, I'm kidding. So I clicked the little, it gives you a link, and it costs 99 cents. I assumed it was going to be free, but it's not, and that immediately enraged me. And so I want to tell you all who are listening out there, don't buy it. Find another video player like VLC, for example, or use a converter or a video editor like I did and convert the videos to MP4. Like what I did was I would import the MOVs and then literally just export them as an MP4, which is, again, the default for most video editors out there. Do not put up with Microsoft's baloney. This is how we fight the battle on the consumer level. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.
Boycott Microsoft's paid thing.
What do you mean?
The thing you just said.
Oh, I was like, what are you talking about again?
The codec.
Yeah,
the
right,
99-cent codec.
Boycott
I mean,
that.
obviously, there's more to not buy than just that. Pirate everything. I mean, wait, what? We don't do anything illegal here on this podcast. Shut up. What?
We
Who
do
said
not
that?
condone illegal activities here.
But we don't not condone it either. You know what I'm saying?
Let's just say if you're doing anything
anyway.
illegal, we don't want to know about it.
Yeah, and for any FBI agents out there listening, we're only abiding by the law, not breaking it. I mean, okay, come on. Piracy's like a gray area anyway. But that's not the point. That's
no,
not
it's really not.
You guys think my
depends
mustache
on what you're pirating, actually. But
No,
I wanna-
it's still stealing. It's
I
still
wanna-
wrong.
listen, that's not what this episode's about.
I want to
okay, but
interrupt this and say that my mustache looks like two Yorkshire Terriers looking at each
Yes,
other.
it does.
it
Yes,
does.
It very
You
much
are
does.
absolutely right.
You got to get something right there in the middle, buddy.
Anyways.
Yeah, so as for what's new for me, I have a new job now. I no longer work at Amazon.
Oh!
I am free of Jeff Bezos's
Tyranny.
big bald clutches.
Bald-headed freak.
Indeed.
I said...
I'm not going to specify the company for whom I work, at least maybe not yet, but I will say that we're involved with, like, cameras, like for dash cameras, body cameras. We supply, police departments and security firms. It's a commercially, like we don't sell to individuals. And I'm
Sony.
a test technician there. So yeah, and I'm enjoying it.
Good.
It's a lot better than Amazon, that's for sure.
That's good. Oh, he's cool.
Also, did you guys see the Obi-Wan teaser that came out between this episode and last?
I did
like
not.
the actual trailer, or like was there?
Yeah, the official
Okay,
teaser
yeah,
trailer,
yeah,
the
yeah.
longest one.
No.
Yeah, it's looking beautiful. Ewan McGregor's in there.
I thought I sent it.
I don't know if he was in the actual trailer, but it's been confirmed that Hayden Christensen will return as Anakin Skywalker.
He didn't appear in the trailer, but at the end of it, if you're listening closely, you can hear Darth Vader's breathing. So yeah, he's been confirmed.
That is true. You can.
Yeah, and Ewan McGregor is talking about the being able to meet Hayden again back on set. And it was like the most beautiful thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
I can only imagine. Also, a new release between episodes that we've been recording as time has gone on. Have you guys seen Moon Knight at all?
I have been.
I have been meaning to get to it.
Dude, it's so good.
Yes.
It's absolutely so good.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm quite pleased with Marvel's newest foray into the TV show format. Shout outs to Oscar Isaac. He is killing it. I love his British accent. It's so funny.
All I can think of is just the meme, the Moon Knight meme. Random crap, go!
Yeah.
Actually isn't even in the comics. That was an edited page that just happened to go viral.
I know, but it's still great.
Yeah, but you know what was a real comic page from... Well, I'm not sure, what year that comic is, that, Moon Knight page is from, but, there's a comic, from, I think, I want to say the 60s? It was of the Joker, and he's like, so, they laugh at my boner, huh? I'll show them all not to laugh at my boner, because back then, boner meant mistake.
All right.
And
Yeah.
it's very much real, but it's hilarious.
Oftentimes, boners cause mistakes, so I can
That's
see
also
where they
true.
got that from.
Ba-da-ba-bum-bum-ba-bum-ba.
Copyright.
Copyright.
Not a sponsor.
All right,
And also, just one last, before we end the small talk, Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga came out a couple
So
weeks
good.
after we released a couple weeks ago, and this is very uncharacteristic of me, but I bought a new release game, and it's amazing. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. I mean, let me back up here. I haven't played through it all the way yet, but I'm enjoying it so far.
It is absolutely gorgeous.
I have not been blessed enough to own it yet, but when I do, do.
Yeah, being able to like have, I still can't get around the fact that you have full control of the camera in this game now. Like,
Dude, I
it's,
know,
it's
I love it.
fully 3D.
What?
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, and it's also a third-person shooter.
What?
It's great though.
It's gorgeous. It graphically is beautiful.
Brian, did I ask you the other day? I don't know if it was you or someone else. What do you think of the Kyber bricks?
You did ask me that, and I don't know. I haven't done much for the Kyber bricks. I've only been plowing through the storyline right now, and then I'll go back
Right,
after
okay.
after I unlock as many characters as I can. I'll go
Aren't
back.
they
through
just
them all
like
and
the,
unlock
like-
everything else?
Secondary mini kits in a way.
No, they're
No,
more like
they're
the
not-
golden bricks. They replaced the
golden
golden
bricks.
bricks
Yeah.
from
They're collectible, and the only thing I don't like about it is they split the true Jedi meter into 3 like chunks,
What?
and for each chunk that you fill, you get a Kyber brick. But
Ah,
you know,
yeah.
there's plenty of Kyber bricks in the game that have nothing to do with the true Jedi meter. So
right.
it
Yeah.
feels a little excessive to me.
Yeah, if you get True Jedi, to get True Jedi, you have to get the 3 Kyber bricks. So
Yeah, like I remember the first time I was playing it, like I feel it still plays that, like, you know, that looping animation for all 3 chunks, and as well as when you get True Jedi. But I didn't realize there were 3 chunks initially, so like it played the looping animation for when you fill chunk 1, and I assumed I'd gotten True Jedi, even though it didn't say True Jedi on the screen. I should have been looking for that, and I stopped like collecting studs, you know,
Actively.
as much as I would have if I knew I still needed True Jedi.
Huh. I wonder why. They
Anyway,
did
let's get on to the main meat of the episode. Dumb mistakes,
that. Oh yeah.
stupidity, the final frontier.
Yeah, I don't know about the final one.
The
it will always
initial
make more mistakes.
The haunt.
Ah.
It's like the thing that will haunt you, and you will continue to accumulate more hauntage as your life progresses. It's great.
Yeah, I will admit I've repressed a lot of. I've undoubtedly done a lot of stupid stuff in my life, but I feel like most of it it's either most of it is like stuff we've all done, like drop a plate of food, or like
Right.
drive all the way to work and realize you've forgotten your like badge or whatever, right?
Right. Or your
But,
backpack
like,
to
anything
school.
specific, I feel
Right,
like
Brian?
I've repressed. Yeah, yeah.
You ever forget your backpack going to school, Brian?
No, I can honestly say I've never had that problem.
I have. It was
For
not,
those who are unaware, Brian was homeschooled.
and up until recently, I was also. So
It's okay. He can make that joke.
yeah.
He's allowed to. No.
Who's gonna?
Okay, so who wants to kick us off with their first dumb mistake?
Well, how many do you have a list, right? Like, how many do you have on your list?
I have.
5.
Yo,
I have-
same.
I have a decent amount
Nice.
somewhere in that
Yeah,
ballpark.
but like, yeah, you know, some of mine are.
I have
pretty short,
I have
though, you
extra
know?
spaces with ... dots for because I always think of things while we talk. So
That works.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go
So-
first. Number 1 on my list. When we were getting ready to film our donut video, I invested in a video camera that was like $130 off of Amazon because it was like the reviews looked pretty good. I was like, it looked like a pretty solid camera. I was like, okay, I was like, we needed it the day after, so I was like, okay, I'll just go ahead and get it, like same day shipping, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And so it gets in, and it doesn't look too bad. It looked okay, and I charged it overnight, and then we start recording the next day, and first of all, the battery when it's recording, the battery like just sucks. It just gets sucked so low, really way too quickly. So you practically have it plugged in while you're recording, and then the controls were all kind of wonky. It was like if you
it
weren't
was a touch screen, so
if you weren't careful what you were
you
doing,
would change it while you were recording.
you would change it from like recording video to recording a time lapse if you weren't like extremely careful. And so
Guilty as charged.
yeah, I know. Like, so we had several instances where we would hit record and then stop recording and then try to look back at the video, and it turns out it was a time lapse, and we're like, what the heck? That was dumb.
it was.
Overall, the camera itself was just absolute garbage. So I wasted $130 buying the camera, and then we wasted an entire afternoon recording video that we then couldn't use any of it.
Yeah,
And
I feel like we need to like point out for additional context that this fail was like compounded by an additional fail in that you didn't have an SD card reader for your PC. We filmed it at Brian's apartment.
Well, here's the thing.
And
Why
so
would I need an SD card
we weren't able
reader?
to review the footage as we recorded it.
Yeah,
I've never needed an
here's
SD
the
card
thing,
reader because
though.
everything I ever use is either
I'm
on
not
a cloud
no, I'm
or
not
on
trying to
or-
fault you. I'm just trying to point out, an additional fail to the story that I think makes it funnier.
I think
Like especially in retrospect, right?
I mean,
like
yeah.
the reality is I didn't get to like really fully review the footage until the following day on my own PC, and I saw it and I was like, "Oh no."
You realize
think-
the whole day was wasted.
what made that even better
Exactly.
is the
You
lacking.
Better.
I said better. I don't know. People are talking in my ears. I can't hear myself. But is mine?
It's like a speech jammer.
Yeah. But what made it even better was that the camera itself had the ability to plug into HDMI. So we were like,
That's true.
this
yeah.
is fine. We don't need an SD card. We'll look at it on the TV as we go. And we plug it into the TV, and it just, I don't even know what happened to the camera.
It just
after
wouldn't
that point.
even work.
It wouldn't
Yeah,
work, and it would like.
Yeah, it was either an issue with the cable or the port on the camcorder, but the picture and the video would just straight up would not translate to the TV properly. It was like all glitchy and messy and laggy.
It was a train wreck.
Absolutely awful.
But it was so funny.
A travesty in every way.
Well, it's funny now. It wasn't funny
Anyway,
then.
it is funny now.
Yeah, obviously, retrospect, like I said. Comedy equals tragedy plus time,
That
as
That's
GLaDOS
very
put
true.
it in Portal
Yes,
2.
yeah,
very true.
that's true.
David, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. This one is also very comical, but at the time was a tragedy. So, I don't know if I should give context or not because that'll kind of spoil the story. So I'll just go into it. I and my family love burritos and tacos. We'll go and get all the ingredients and like we won't like just go to Taco Bell or like whatever like taco place or you want to go to or like Mexican restaurant. But we'll get like
What about Chipotle, bro?
we will go there like but like if we're gonna have it as like a family dinner, we'll go out and we'll
Okay.
get like the tomatoes and the lettuce and we cut everything up and make it, get the
Oh, that's
tortillas.
fair.
So it was the day after one of those nights, and I was like, we have enough leftovers. I'm going to make myself a delicious burrito because I love burritos. They're one of my favorite foods. I much prefer them over tacos because of how compact they can be, and you get more foodage to mouth ratio. It's not falling out all over the place. But anyways, besides the point. So I'm making it right. I got my sour cream, I got my beef, I got my cheese, I got my refried beans, I got my
David?
lettuce, I absolutely packed it full. I think my internet just dropped out.
I don't know if it's still recording on his end or not.
I would assume so, but he just David, if you can hear us, you like froze. We can't hear you at all.
Well, this is awkward.
Oh.
I wonder if I should keep this in or not.
Depending on how long this goes on for, I would say probably not.
Well, it also depends on if it's depending on. Oh, his internet dropped out, so it's also depending on how much of his is recorded.
Oh, dang it. Are we gonna have to start this over?
No.
Oh, that's gonna suck. Tone, don't stop recording on Audacity, because honestly, you could just cut it out and maybe line it up,
Yeah.
Well, since this is gonna be cut out, that's funny though.
Oh. Well, that's a first.
Yeah, this is what I claim happened in episode 1.
What?
Like, if you read the YouTube description for episode 1, it just says, like, an incident that was out of our control occurred that caused an interruption while we were recording, and we tried to, use as much footage, or we use as much as we could of what we had recorded, but the ending is abrupt, But, I mean, I don't specify anything, but, like, if you were to ask me, I'd be like, yeah, internet went out or power.
Can you guys hear me?
Hey,
Okay. Yeah.
You never stopped recording, did you?
No,
You're muted.
I did.
Oh.
I didn't. I let it.
No, wait, you're not muted. You're just lagging.
I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's working. For me.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay. It's better now.
The internet dropped out, so I had to quickly grab a power cable for my phone and turn on my hotspot. So I'm running off that right now.
Oof.
Oh, nice.
So I damage control. My fail safes kicked in as fast as possible. In my recording, you hear me go, Jake, when you edit this in post, I'm sorry.
Wait, am I editing this one?
No, I don't know. I said Jake or
Okay.
Brian. I was like, or Brian. I don't
Okay.
know. But did I miss
I
anything?
was like, what didn't you tell me?
Did I miss anything?
Surprise, Jake, you're right.
No.
Did I miss
Okay.
anything important?
I may salvage some of this and keep it in.
I think. Okay, it says that the internet's back up. It says that my Ethernet is working, but I'm too scared to disconnect my phone. So we're just gonna leave it the way it is for now.
Okay.
All
right, that's fair. So real quick before you get back into it, I'm just curious: are you good at being able to like wrap your own burrito? Because I can never get it right; it always like falls back open.
I am.
You know?
I am. Yes, I'm very good. Well, obviously you have to hold it.
No, but like when I try to like wrap it around the ingredients, it like the end product is this like lumpy, lopsided, hideous mess.
I
of
have-
a tortilla.
I have pretty close to perfected the way that I wrap my burritos. I don't do it like Chipotle or Taco Bell where it's like completely sealed on all sides. I just leave the top open because like I'm gonna eat it.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
So all I do is like I kind of fold the bottom over a little bit, roll it up, and then the top is open, and it's like it's gonna have a hole there anyways in a couple seconds when I take a bite out of it. So
It's like rolling a giant
All
joint.
right.
Sure.
You're gonna have to teach me that sometime.
I'll
right,
make
I will.
I'll make us burritos the way I make us brats.
All right. So, sorry, carry on with your story. 'Cause you're like right in the middle of it.
Yeah, where was I? Right, I was making a burrito.
You were like getting it all rolled
I'm
up.
throwing in the ingredients. Yeah, I roll it up. Meat, cheese, sour cream, refried beans. Literally, my burrito's dressed to the nines right now. I take a bite out of it. I start to eat. I'm enjoying it. And I
Is
stop.
he frozen again for you?
Just
I
I
think when you
think my
keep getting that
hands
one
stop
point in the
getting-
video where it just keeps freezing, so you just have to skip past it. So when he gets back, just tell him to skip the dressing part of the burrito, and just get to the meat.
Did I lose connection for a
You
second?
froze again.
Yeah, I said, and I stopped, and then I went, just like my internet, just stopped again. Dang it. Anyways, I take a bite out of it, and I stop. My face drops. I go, whoa. It was sweet potato casserole that I put inside my burrito, not refried beans.
Oh,
Those were not
I could-
beans that were fried once again, but sweet
see that.
potatoes that have been mushed into a pulp. And this was the thing that I was going to preface, but decided against it. I loathe sweet potatoes. I hate them. I cannot
I love them.
stand them. I would rather throw up 1,000,000 times than eat sweet potatoes. There was actually one point
Dang.
where my dad was going to give me a scoop of sweet potatoes, and instead of saying, "Oh no, I'm okay, thank you, Dad, I don't like those," I just picked up my plate and pulled it towards me, and he just put a scoop of sweet potatoes on the table. And he just looked at me like, "You could have just said no. Like you could have put your hand up to the spoon and pushed it away, but I just picked up my plate and moved it out of the way." But
Does this stem from like a childhood trauma with sweet potatoes?
well, when I was a kid, I didn't like them, and my parents were like, "Well, you have to eat them." So I sat at the kitchen table for like 2 hours and didn't eat them, and they were like, "Just go. You're not gonna eat them, apparently." So
dude, that's where a lot of my dislike for a lot of foods come from. It's just like being forced to eat it as a kid and then not liking
well,
it.
it's not
so
that
I
the
can't eat
fact
it now.
it's not that the fact that I was forced. It's that I just didn't like it, and they tried to force me to eat it, and I protested, and they said fine. So
went on strike.
I threw my burrito in the garbage. I screamed obscenities at my family. No, that part didn't happen. But I was very upset. I felt very nauseous for the next 30 minutes or something like that. And that is, to this day, one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made. Always make sure that your refried beans are refried beans before you eat them.
Yeah.
That's the
Well,
moral
like,
of
do
the
you ever
story.
like make like for as far as like ingredients for your burritos go, do you ever like throw a bunch of like chicken and like spices and stuff into a crock pot and just like let that cook all day, and then you've got this nice like chicken with like juice broth that is floating in, and you take that, you use a slotted spoon so you don't get too much juice,
right?
And you put the chicken into your burrito with the rest of your.
We have done that before, but not typically.
I was gonna say, like, you're like, the way you mistook one ingredient for another reminded me of like whenever we'd be finished with like the chicken, we'd put it, you know, in a Tupperware in the fridge, and then like the fat would congeal into this gross rubbery mass.
Yeah.
So you have to like dig around that to get to the actual chicken.
I know what you mean. No,
yeah,
it's
or like pork.
Oh yeah,
pork fat.
It's typically we just get like beef, refried beans, like black olives, lettuce, cheese, tomatoes, some like salsa.
The essentials.
Or not salsa, but like taco sauce.
Yeah. Guac.
We've made guac before, but
avocado guac is good in burritos.
Avocados are typically kind of expensive, so
they are. It's kind of ridiculous.
So we don't really lean towards that very often.
Makes me want to plant my own avocado tree.
I've tried. It's not
you
as
have?
It's not as easy. Yeah, if you take out the pit and put like toothpicks in it, you can like hover it over a glass and it'll like grow a root down from the pit and it'll like sprout. But but me and my sister did that, and it ended up getting infected by a weed, and it just grew in.
Oh no!
It grew in, but like it grew in like perfectly, so it looked like a tree, but it was just this like 4-foot tall weed that had just eaten this seed. And we were like, look at our plant. And our family was like, we got really bad news for you guys.
I have terrible news.
Yeah. All right. That's my first one.
So my first one is also food related, actually. This goes all the way back to my childhood. So you guys, you've been to Oak Park Mall. I know you have.
No.
So you remember the
I have.
the Noodles and Company that's like right out there by the main entrance?
Good food.
Well, it's like now the main entrance, but that was not always the main entrance. So when I was a kid, my mom took my sister and I there, and it was like at the end of a long day. What my mom liked to do when we were kids is she would like take us along with their garage sailing, because it's not like she can leave us home alone because my dad would be at work during the day, right? And because we're kids, we don't really have any other choice.
That's fair.
So we would often be with her, and it was the end of a long day, and I think we had been doing something like that, because like we had been deprived of food otherwise. Like that's the kind of situation I imagine it was. And so I was very hungry, and I get like noodles with pieces of like fried chicken in it, and I just started going to town on that bowl, wolfing it down.
Oh no.
Not chewing thoroughly. And I swallow a chunk of chicken, and it becomes lodged in my throat. And a pile of noodles lands on top of that. And then I realize I can't swallow anymore. So my first instinct is to go for a drink of good old Coca-Cola, #non-sponsored. And that didn't do anything. And that's when I realized I was dying. I could feel Death's icy fingers tightening his grip around my neck. And now, like, my mom had...
I just picture in your mind just like the image of you imagining noodles just wrapping themselves around your neck and tightening.
No, it's like the Grim Reaper using noodles as a carrot.
Exactly.
No, so at this point, in my life, my mom had always been talking about like the importance of chewing your food, because a couple years before that, my mother had to perform the Heimlich maneuver on her sister, who choked on a piece of meat when they were visiting her in Amsterdam. And I wasn't there for this, but it was scary because choking almost kills you, and she almost died just like I did. And my mom said, before then she knew the Heimlich, and she's always like, yeah, it's important to be safety, and then ever since then she'd been like extra, vocal about it. And so I started choking, and I knew, I was like, all right, my mom's my lifeline here. She knows the Heimlich. This is happening. So I did the international symbol for choking. For those of you who don't know, you put your hands around your neck, in front of your neck, obviously. Don't obviously squeeze your neck. That'll make it worse.
You put your hands on your neck like this.
She immediately recognized the symbol, and she's like, get up. And I stood up and she did the Heimlich on me in the middle of a restaurant, in front of all these patrons who are also in there eating their food. And I just coughed it up out of my throat, and I just fell down over onto the booth bench and just started gasping for breath like a fish out of water.
Dang.
It was horrifying, and I say to all of you who are listening, chew your food, man. It's not worth almost dying. We're dying.
It's really
dying.
not. I'm not gonna touch on it long, but I had a hankering for peanut butter and decided to down 3 spoons at one time, just one after the other, boom, 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 and then I tried to swallow, then nothing happened. So I just calmly got a glass of milk and just started flushing down peanut butter.
Mm-hmm.
Almost died.
I feel
that
like
day.
that's the only way to learn.
I know.
To eat too much peanut butter at once, you have to learn the hard way.
Basically.
But
or you just use common
after
sense
having
and don't
choked on
spoonful
food,
peanut butter in your mouth.
After having choked on food, I remember always being super conscious about eating. And I remember I had a moment while I was eating lunch years later in high school, where I was I didn't choke, but I was eating food, and I looked around and I was like, these are my friends, and unfortunately the likelihood is that probably none of them know the Heimlich maneuver. If I choked, I'd be screwed.
Yeah.
I'm not dogging on any of my friends. They're great people, but
right.
The reality is that I just don't think any of them were concerned with knowing how to perform the Heimlich maneuver. I'm sure someone in the lunchroom would have known, but you want to be, you want to keep the people who can save your sorry butt, close to you. Anyway, I'll pass it on to you, Brian, again.
Okay. Actually, a couple of mine do involve food as well.
It's just it's something. Food is something that hopefully everyone will experience in their life at a constant enough rate that something horrible will happen at some point.
Well,
my name is Rachel. I'm 35 and I've never eaten food.
I don't believe in food.
One of them was actually semi-recently, so I think I might save that one for later because you guys were there. So it was very recently.
I'm trying to think of what that was.
I think I know.
I didn't end up dying from it, but it was pretty bad. The other one was from years and years ago. It was back when I was living in Parkville, so back at my grandpa's house. We would every once in a while we'd have family game night, and it was almost always either Lord of the Rings Trivial Pursuit or Star Wars Trivial Pursuit. And I'm a huge fan of both of those series, and
understandably so, they're great.
Yes, they are, and I know a lot about both of them. So I don't remember which game it was, but we were playing one night, and it was me, my mom, and my brother were on a team, and then Dad and basically Dad and everybody else were on the other team. So Mom, Cody, and I won, and as the winners, Dad was like, okay, now you guys can go fix whatever ice cream you want, and as much as you want, you guys get to make your own ice cream. Which, I mean, obviously Mom could do anyways, but typically Mom and Dad were the ones that were dishing out ice cream because they wanted us to eat not as much as we wanted to.
Right.
So me, being the dumb little kid that I am, absolutely filled up my bowl with just stocked full of ice cream, and then poured chocolate syrup all over it.
I respect it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was as a kid, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to eat so much ice cream. It's going to be awesome. One of the biggest mistakes of my life. Because I was up to 4 a.m. throwing it all back up.
Oh, man.
I just stuffed my face with ice cream. Oh, dude, it gave me such bad diarrhea, too. It's pretty gross.
Bro. Man, that's awful. Ice cream,
That's the worst kind of getting sick, is when you have too much of a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's you really messed up. Because
then part of you is
you just wanted to enjoy
that
it, man.
again. Yeah, and it was
actually you develop a taste aversion.
It was after that I very rarely eat ice cream anymore.
Yeah.
It was partially because of that. It was so gross.
That'll happen.
Man,
such a shame when that happens. I always hate hearing stories of people that are like, "Oh yeah, I don't like honey. I had too much when I was a kid. Now I'm like, I'm like, really?
Yeah, my sister did that with peppermints. She like
Yeah.
a bunch of them. I'm pretty sure it wasn't just those because she also had like 5 slices of pizza that night when we were kids, and she threw. We were. This is like before we were going to my grandparents' lake house for the weekend, and so she was up on the top bunk, which was my bed, on our bunk bed, and she was like, we were playing GameCube, I think, either that or N64, and she was like. Just barked all over my bed. I was like, "Where am I going to sleep now?"
Oh man. Oh, that's always the worst. All right, is it my turn?
She hates peppermints now.
Man, that sucks. Are you good, Brian? Did you finish up?
Yep.
All right, my turn. So this one was oh man, couple years ago. I think it was about two or three, something like that. But I used to mow yards that used to be my job. So, outside all the time. Sometimes, when you're doing it all the time, you kind of get lax about the stuff that you probably shouldn't be lax about. Like,
did you have a riding mower?
I did, yes. It would like,
That's the only way to go.
It is the only way to go, man. Using a riding mower, going back to a push mower is like using man, I don't know. It's like eating food that's like brand.
And they're choking on it.
No, it's like eating food that you just got from a restaurant, putting it in the fridge, and going back to it like 5 days later. Like, this is not good.
Yeah, after the fat has congealed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like driving a Lamborghini and then end up having to go back to driving a Ford Escape.
Something like that. I don't know. Basically, it's like.
Honestly, though, in this economy, I'd take a Ford Escape.
It's like going from riding a riding mower to pushing one.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty spot on.
But anyways, I don't know what happened or how it happened, but I ended up getting poison ivy, and I ended up getting it decently bad, to the point where I was applying calamine lotion every so often, whenever I needed to, basically whenever the itching started. But I was really tired of the cream because I would have to meticulously go and put it on every little part that was, bad. So my mom got spray, calamine lotion spray. And I was like, well, this is great. It's easy. I just like sunscreen or whatever. So I started itching really bad. I was like, I'll go reapply. I go into the bathroom. I close the door. Small bathroom, by the way. Not a half bath, but still decently small. I pop the lid off, and I just start going to town on all this poison ivy that's all over me, because it was bad. So I was like, man, I'm just going to load up. I finish, and I look around, and the room is just a pink haze of just calamine lotion spray. I can barely see. I breathe in, and my lungs just fill with fumes from this canister. So I start coughing, and I lean over the sink for a second, and I'm like, I have to get out of here. So I open the door and basically just fall out on my hands and knees, and I start coughing. My mom comes up the stairs. Pink gas is just leaking out of the bathroom, and she's like, what happened? And I was like, spray. And she's like, oh. And it was horrible. I think that was probably my first experience with asphyxiation. And it was just, for those that don't know what that word is, that is being able to breathe but not being able to intake oxygen. So it was not fun. I got out pretty fast though, so it wasn't nothing too bad happened before I didn't slap my hand on the door and slowly slide down all dramatic it was
like in all the movies.
I got out decently fast, but it was kind of scary. But it was a sizable mistake that I was like, I should probably not do that again.
Bro, I am so allergic to poison ivy. It's
really?
Absolutely awful. It's to the point that it could very well kill me if I got it on me. The last time I had it was a long time ago, and it was most of my body had swelled up, and my face had swelled up so bad I couldn't even see out of my right eye, and my my left side of my face was getting pretty swelled up. I mean, my grandma was like, dude, it looks like you legit just got hit by a bus. Like, you're so completely swollen. It was awful.
Dang,
Man,
dude.
guess I have to get rid of your birthday present now. It was a T-shirt made entirely of poison ivy.
Darn. Who wouldn't want that? He puts it on. He starts itching like, what is this? What are the fibers in this? Oh, poison ivy. You know,
Yeah, man.
woven.
It's all the rage these days.
Woven fresh from
It'll have me raging.
woven fresh.
It's supposed to bring out the color in your skin.
Yeah. You'll look like your
It's a new
lips.
type of fashion.
I think you're up, Jake.
Yep. So this one's actually a lot more recent. This has to do with the donut making video. So I was sitting there in the editing bay, and if you've seen the video, then you know at the end of the video we do the taste test of Coca-Cola Starlight. I asked you guys, what do you rate it? And David said 7 toes out of 10. so I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to like edit this into the video somehow.
7.5, Jake.
Yeah, it
Well,
was.
he
7
changed it to
and a half.
half just to try to make my life harder, but I was like, I'm not putting half a toe on the screen. That's too much. So I just went to Google and I typed 7 toes and hit enter.
Oh my
It's-
god.
What? Okay, hold on though. Wait, what you wouldn't expect actually? What came up? It was like a bunch of like pairs of feet with like, you know, more than 10 toes on each one, and they were like the way they were together. They looked like gross fleshy spiders. I was like, oh, I'm gonna throw up. But one of the images that appeared in the top of the search is the one that's in the video of the girl holding her foot up, and she's got 7 toes on her foot. And so I was like, okay. All right, I'll use this one. So I clicked it and I dragged it into the search bar. And the thing is, when you search by an image on Google, it doesn't just plug in the image into the search bar. It'll plug in a generic phrase about that like describes that image.
No.
So it automatically plugged into the search bar. Girl feet pics. I was like, oh no. But that's not even the worst part.
You just the
When
bar
the page
is like
finished loading up.
yeah, it's like you just
When the page finished loading up, at the top of the page, it was like, some results have been excluded
Maybe
because they're explicit. Would you like to reload the page and view explicit results? I was like, no. And that's the story of how I had to clear my search history.
oh my gosh, dude. I can just imagine the slow motion realization on your face as the bar is just slowly getting towards completion and you just see girl feet pics.
Girl feet pics. Oh, Jake, I didn't know you were that kind of guy.
Jake,
Oh,
my
my gosh. Let me tell you right now, there is nothing sexy about feet.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah, you're right there.
I honestly do not see the appeal. Like, did you guys ever watch, like, Nickelodeon shows in the early 2000s, like iCarly?
Yes.
I wasn't.
Yes, I did. All
I
the
wasn't
time.
allowed to.
Okay, so like the producer for most of those shows, including
I know
iCarly, is
you're
a guy named Dan Schneider, and there's like this big theory that he's like a foot fetishist, because there's a lot of like weird like visual gags and jokes that have to do with feet in like iCarly and like there are jokes like that in other shows that he was a producer on, and for a while the Nickelodeon logo was a foot.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just weird. Like you watch this stuff back. There's like a compilation on YouTube. You watch it back as an adult, and you just feel dirty. Like it's just not comfortable. It's gross.
Okay, so speaking of that donut video,
The perfect segue.
what?
I said perfect segue.
Oh, yes, exactly. No.
Yeah.
So speaking of the donut video,
World's greatest transition.
a big mistake that we made while filming that was I had this bright idea to put steak seasoning and thyme into our donut batter and make a donut out of it.
Delicious.
And let me tell you, steak seasoning and donut batter do not mix well. That was probably about the
It smelled kind of
nastiest.
good though.
It smelled fine. It had like a half sugary, half garlicky smell to it.
No, it smelled like a nice seasoned steak.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it didn't
when your
taste.
donut smells like meat.
It didn't taste like a well seasoned steak. It tasted like sugar and garlic had been mixed together, and you just dipped it on your tongue.
It was an experience
That's
don't know
for
if
sure.
I don't know if mistake is the right word.
No,
but
I'm calling it a mistake.
It's up there in the
It was
vocabulary.
gross.
Steak.
It was.
Ha ha ha!
a
You're off the
mistake.
show.
The worst part. I really think the worst part was the crunchiness of it, though.
Oh, I
like
bit
those
into
donuts
something.
were soft, and then you eat the one with the steak seasoning, and you're like crunching into salt and pepper, and you're like, oh, gross! What the heck is this?
It honestly was like if Cheetos Puffs were just a little softer. It was bad.
Yeah, it was pretty gross.
It was bad.
I'm gonna label that as a mistake.
It was pretty bad.
Like that goes right next to the donut that I had that I put icing on and then poured garlic powder on or garlic salt on.
Oh yeah.
That one was equally as bad.
That's
Man, yeah, I can't believe you like actually wanted to do that.
yeah,
Because Jake, I wanted to get out there and do something weird.
I think
I
biggest
don't do weird things.
My
very
biggest
often.
mistake in that video was taking the eggs out.
Fair enough.
Taking the eggs out and just putting them in the milk.
Bro.
No, that was funny.
I know.
It was
No,
hilarious.
I'm
It was
just
like my
kidding.
realization. I like turned back and you're like, I'm watching you putting the whole egg in. I'm like, what are you doing?
It's such a funny shot in the video.
It
'cause
is.
You can tell Brian is like distracted, and he just turns around. What are you doing?
He picks them up with such speed, is like shaking them off, like trying to dry them off. It was great. That was a good video. Go watch
that
it.
was a
That
good
is
video.
so funny.
Yeah, commercial break. Go watch that video.
Link
on our
in the
YouTube
description.
channel.
Link in the description
No
below.
promises.
Will it be in the description? I mean, I'm sure I could put the link in the description.
It's not hard.
No, not hard at all.
I'll tell you what. I'll put an iCard
All right.
on the YouTube version.
Okay.
Okay, you can do that.
But you know what? It'll be an end card because I'm too lazy to scroll through to the timestamp.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's
It'll just
fine.
be at the end,
That's fine.
which is how it should be because you should finish this episode first and watch the.
That's true. Bless you. All right. Am I
I'm
up?
leaving that burp in.
Am I up?
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's you, David.
When I was a young lad, and even to this day, I love animals. There has never been a time in my life where I didn't like animals. They've been a constant part of my life. I've always been around them, and they're always going to have a special place in my heart, no matter what kind of animal it is. I love them all.
Amen, brother.
But
Except for mosquitoes.
yeah, well, they're okay.
Any annoying insect can go die in a hole.
They're cool when you learn about them, not when they're attacking you. But
Or ticks.
when I was a child, my sister had a hamster. I loved this hamster. It was very cool. It was cool to have a hamster. We would play with it. We would run around with it. It was great. One day, I got said hamster out, and I brought said hamster into my room. And I was playing with this hamster. We were having a great time. I was like, oh, buddy, you're great. A little hamster. So
hamster dance.
I pick him up in one hand like this, right? I'm looking at him. I'm having fun with him. He starts to wiggle. I don't want to drop him. We're high up. I was a pretty tall kid when I was however old I was in this situation. So I squeezed it to prevent this hamster from falling. In retaliation, the hamster bites my hand. I would do that too if a giant just squeezed me. I would probably bite its hand too. In retaliation to the hamster's retaliation, I threw the hamster across the room directly into my closet doors, killing the hamster on impact.
Oh no!
And I watched
gosh.
it. It was thunk, and I watched it slide down my closet
Oh no!
in horror because I just killed a man. It was one of the worst mistakes. Addie, my sister, was devastated. She was every emotion,
man.
all 5 stages of grief in like a second. Like I felt so bad. But looking back at me, just hucking this hamster across the room,
hilarious.
killing it on impact.
That's like some sitcom, like
It
TV
was-
show level stuff.
It's so funny to look back on. It is not funny. It was not funny in the moment. I felt
that'd be
I-
traumatizing.
I felt like garbage because I love animals. As a kid, I loved them. So I was like, what
That's
if
fair.
I looked at my hands like a murderer? I was like, what have I done?
Something very similar happened to me actually. I was over at the neighbor girl's house. I didn't kill the hamster, but I was like reaching into the cage to like. Actually, no, it wasn't a cage. It was like an open. It was like sitting in an open container, like temporarily on the top of her dresser, and it was a fairly tall dresser. And I like moved my finger toward it. And pro tip: never move an individual finger toward an animal because individual fingers are the easiest to bite. Give them some harder to
especially
bite.
rodents.
Don't give them anything to bite, but like
especially rodents, because if you give them like little baby carrots and stuff, that could be interpreted the very wrong way.
Yeah. Don't fit into an animal's mouth.
Pretty sure I don't.
I moved my finger toward the hamster and it bit onto my finger and I went, oh, and I recoiled out of surprise. But the hamster stayed latched onto my finger and recoiled. It came along with my hand and it didn't let go until it was in midair and fell all the way down from the top of the dresser to the floor. And it survived, but I was like, as I watched it fall, like everything went into slow motion. I'm like, this thing's gonna die. I killed it. Oh man, sure it was not gonna survive.
We do not condone animal cruelty.
Hamsters are so bouncy, bro. Hold on, no, I mean, just like I should know actually. I watched that thing bounce. let me tell you.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Anyways, I still feel bad about it. But that's one of the mistakes I've made. I've made so many mistakes. Picking out just like a select few for like an episode was so difficult.
Yeah, I kind of had the opposite problem.
Right.
I couldn't like I know I've made a lot of, humorous mistakes. I couldn't remember any of them.
That's fine.
Exactly. All right, well, so my next one is also from my childhood. Now, I mentioned this briefly earlier before in the episode, but I had a bunk bed at my grandparents' lake house, my sister and I. And, as a kid, I was pretty weak. At least in the upper body. Like I could run pretty fast, but I had noodle arms.
Right.
And so my sister and I were hanging out on the top bunk, and what's important to note is that the bunk bed was like not flesh up against it was in the corner of the room, and it was not flesh up against the walls, but it was like a maybe half a foot or about half a foot away from the wall. Not a whole lot of berth. But enough that if you were a skinny, bony skeleton of a human being like I was,
you could fit some bones back there.
Most of your body between that gap. So my sister's like, I bet you can't squeeze down through that gap and get down under the floor that way. And I was like, yeah, I bet you I can. Let me cram my body in this tight space. So I went down feet first. And I was also short as a kid. I mean, I've been pretty much relatively short all my life, but like, right now, I'm at pretty much the average for like men's height, at least in the U.S. But anyway, I'm like sliding my way down there. I'm like lowering myself on my arms, and my waist goes down, and I'm about at nipple level when I realized that I've passed the point of no return because I've been hoisting myself slowly down with my arms for a while, and they're no longer at a capacity to where I can lift myself back up. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm panicked. I'm a Grace. I don't want to do this. I want to turn around, but at the same time, I have to commit because I can't. And so I kept going, and my shoulders get through because I'm like, parallel to the wall on the bunk bed, and then my head gets stuck between the bunk bed and the wall. Giant potato of a head, and an important thing that I should have mentioned earlier is that we had the door to our room closed and locked. Oh. So I'm like basically hanging by my skull between the bunk bed and the wall, and I'm like, stop! I'm crying now. I'm like, Grace, freaking help me out here! I'm stuck. And she and her infinite dumb little child wisdom thinks that she can lift me herself out of this freaking situation. And so for the longest time, and by this time, our grandparents have heard the commotion, and they're banging at the door trying to get into our room, because unlike my parents who are prepared and they have above any lockable door in our house, there's a little hex key that you can use to unlock the knob. But our grandparents didn't do that at the lake house, so they can't get in. And I'm like, Grace, just go open the door. Go open the door. And it took way longer than it should have for her to finally give up and just go open the door. And finally, my grandfather gets in and like pulls the bunk bed back and frees me from my fat-headed prison. And from then on, the bunk bed was like no closer than a foot to the wall. I think there's just a massive gap between the bed and the wall.
I feel like the solution would have been to push it closer to the wall.
Well, okay, see, I thought you might say that, and therein lies another story.
Oh no!
So we were, This didn't happen to me though. This happened to my cousin. We were all my dad's brother has 2 kids, and they're both obviously my cousins, and we often will get together and we'll go on like trips to like. Usually it's in Colorado because it's right now that's where they live, and like that was like usually the halfway point between the two of us because they lived in like California or Idaho, and we like meet together in the middle. Oh, are you guys still there?
I was fixing my camera. Sorry,
because like everything glitched out on my screen, including Brian. Like,
oh wow,
I don't think that was just David. Anyway, we were in a cabin in Colorado up in the mountains, and because there were 4 of us kids there, you know, the 4 cousins we called ourselves, me, my sister, and then my cousins Hallie and Connor, that were that are my uncle's kids. We had a room with 2 bunk beds in it, and so my cousin is like sitting up on the top bunk, and she's like chilling. She's got her elbow like resting on the rail of the bunk bed, right? And like it slips between the bunk bed and the wall and gets stuck, and she starts crying, and it like
right.
I mean, if the bunk bed could be any closer to the wall, I would have. But there's obviously a little gap for her weenus and her elbow to fit in there, right?
Right.
So she's like stuck and she's crying, and my dad comes running in the room and he's like, "All right, I got this." And he goes to pull the bunk bed off the wall, and it doesn't budge. And he like pulls it again, and nothing happens. So he looks, and the bunk bed is bolted to the wall. So he has to like get like he like climbs onto the like lower bed, and he like grabs the like bottom of the top bunk, and he's like pushing with pulling with every ounce of his strength, just to like move the bed a micrometer away from the wall, just like, you know, not to break the thing that's bolted
enough
to the wall,
space
so
to free
my cousin,
to free someone's weenus.
Yes, exactly. And it just barely worked, but you could tell he expelled all of his energy doing so.
Jeez,
Wow.
dude. Okay,
So yes,
I understand.
that is the ultimate caveat, emptor, when you are getting a bunk bed. Make sure it's an appropriate distance away from the wall.
Make sure it's not bolted to the wall either.
Also, yeah, but like this was like Airbnb before Airbnb was a thing. You know, you like set it up with a renter. Like we didn't own the lodge we were staying in, and it wasn't a hotel.
They didn't want people.
So they had anything that could, you know. I don't know why you like of all the things you could steal from the house, a bunk bed would probably not be one of them. But like, they had stuff like that bolted down.
I'm gonna take this bunk bed for my family.
You'll never know what hit him. There's just a big empty space in the room. Honey, I think they took our bunk bed.
No, it's fine.
That's funny. I almost got stuck under a car today.
Man.
Well, we didn't have it on a rack, and actually, so this ties actually into one of my mistakes. So I'll just go ahead and launch to that story.
Very well. It's your turn.
It was about 20 minutes before I was supposed to leave work, and one of the service advisors asked me to replace a battery, which I absolutely hate doing because they're a pain in the butt, and something almost always goes wrong with it. Right. So I was like, okay, fine. Nobody else is going to do it. I'll do it. So I was getting ready to take the old battery out, and I got the positive terminal off, and I was getting the negative terminal off, and I don't know exactly what happened. Maybe the drill just like came up like too fast or something. I don't know, but it on a battery terminal. Yeah, the way it sits on the battery is like, you know how it's like a little circle and it sits on there and then pinches together.
Yeah.
Well, the little bolt that keeps it together there's a little nut, and then there's a small little bolt thing that has it's hard to describe. It's kind of look like a bridge that grips the outsides of that terminal and keeps it together.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a circular clamp almost.
Yes, exactly, like that.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, if you unscrew the nut barely too far, that just pops out of the terminal.
Right.
And, you can't just buy that little thing. You have to buy an entire new terminal, including the alternator cables.
Ooh.
So it's like a $1,500 replacement if you lose that one
Dang.
tiny little piece. So that popped out somehow.
Oh.
Didn't even notice it.
You tell me you can't even like shove it back in there?
No, you can if you find it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, no, you can. It just
That's
it
the
takes
key.
a lot. Because there's also the way it's designed is also it's not really designed for the nut to come off all the way. It's not supposed to. So if you make it go that far, it gets stuck on there. So then you have to like put it in a clamp and then take the nut off completely, which takes a lot of time. Strip down the first few grooves on the nut or on the bolt, and then put it back on there. It takes a lot of work. It's a pain in the butt.
It sounds very precarious.
It is. It's really freaking annoying. Well, that popped out. I didn't notice it. I put the new battery in. I'm getting it in there, and I went to put the negative terminal on, and I realized it's not there. So I was like, well, crap. I went to go grab another small bolt and nut and maybe put it in there somehow and make it work, and it wasn't working. So I was like, okay, now I have to find this stupid little bolt. And got the service advisor in on it. He went to talk to parts and, found out it was going to be a $1,500 thing if I couldn't find that piece. So I was like, okay, this is great. I'll just get underneath the car somehow and try to find it. And it wasn't on a rack. It was just like out on the floor.
Right.
So I had to like crawl underneath there, and I'm like, I almost got stuck because I'm like trying to wiggle my flashlight and this magnet pole thing around, try to catch it, which come to find out later, the thing is made out of lead, so the magnet wouldn't have even worked. So I'm looking around on there and almost got stuck trying to get out because I don't have a very big butt, but apparently it was big enough to get me stuck underneath the car. Finally got squeezed out of there. And then we had to... The customer had gotten there like at 4 o'clock. I was supposed to leave at 4, and I still hadn't found the piece by then. So I was like, this is fantastic. I'm stuck here at work now. So we had to we couldn't move the car really because, it didn't have a battery connected. So we had to pop it into neutral. I don't remember the correct terminology for it, but there's a little switch in there that if you press it with the key, you can move it into neutral and then therefore move the car. And it took us an extra 15 minutes to get that thing from the location it was in. Was trying to steer it to back it up and then pull it into a rack without power steering, and so you're really pulling hard on the stupid steering wheel. It was a pain in the butt, and I'm already drenched in sweat because I've been underneath the car, been inside the car, inside the engine compartment trying to find the freaking thing. Finally get it up on the rack after about 15 minutes. We get it lifted up. And we still couldn't find it, the stupid little thing. And we had two of our mainline techs over there. They're like, it has to be in here somewhere. This is the only place it can go because it's not on the floor.
Right.
It's where the heck is it? So we just started banging on random things. Turns out, so the way the place that the battery is located was if you're looking at the car with the hood up, it's in the very back right side, or back right corner. So I would assume, if it falls down, it's going to fall down back there somewhere. No, somehow it fell back there and then bounced all the way up to the front part of the car and got wedged between these two plastic pieces that you wouldn't have even known it was there unless you happened to bang on the exact right spot where you can hear it clinking around in there. And we're like, what the heck is that? How did it get there?
Interesting.
I wasted 45 minutes of my day trying to find this stupid piece of metal.
It sounds like a
I had to have one of our mainline techs finally fix it, and then I got it in there, got the battery. It ended up getting the customer out about 4:30. But I was like, oh my gosh, I hated myself so much. I had to stay overtime, which not really complaining about, but at the same time,
you got paid. So
well, at the same time, it was way more work than it should have been,
right?
And it caused me a lot of pain.
Sounds like a great day at
absolutely
work.
bull crap, dude. It's funny now because just the fact that it should have fallen in the back and somehow ended up in the front makes me laugh. I'm like, what the this would happen. I'm trying to leave work and the most bull crap thing would happen to me.
Right.
Oh gosh, I hated it. That's why I don't like replacing batteries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could understand that. Yeah.
David, it is your turn.
All right. Just like my last story, this one also involves me throwing something. So, I don't know if there's like something underlying there or not, but we'll talk about that later. So basically, I don't remember how it happened, why it happened, like what the causation of it was, but me and my sister were grounded for a whole week, no electronics. That was what we were told. So, that's fine. I was a little kid, so like I'm not gonna die if I don't have my. I'm not the kids today that are like, oh, I need my phone. I don't know, but like, so I played outside for a week
Because that's what kids sound like.
Yeah.
Oh, I need my phone.
I need my phone.
Father, Mao. But so it was like there was like an hour before our 7-day ban was lifted. And I was downstairs in our basement practicing the piano. And I was like, you know what? I'm kind of bored. I'll turn on the TV while I practice the piano. So I'm watching TV, practicing my piano. We're home alone at the time.
That's impressive. I wouldn't be able to do that, both of us at the same time.
Really? Well,
I just start watching TV.
it was just background noise. And I figured
right.
if I'm going to risk this, I might as well actually try playing the piano anyways, because the band was
Fair.
it was still like down, like no electronics. So my sister comes down in the basement and is like, what are you doing? And I'm like, playing the piano and watching TV. She's like, we're still banned from electronics. I'm gonna tell on you. And I was like, they never said anything about TV. She's like, that's an electronic. And I was like, I mean, yeah, but they didn't say you can't watch TV. I didn't remember that. So we get into an argument, right? And I had my phone on me. My iPhone, oh man, what was it? I don't remember if it was my 4S or my 3GS. It was an old phone.
3GS.
I had it on me. I don't remember why. I just had it because I carried my phone around with me. Because, I think it was because our parents were gone and they were like, if there's an emergency, call us. Like,
Right. Yeah.
You don't get on it. We'll know if you get on it, but if if one of you's bleeding out in the kitchen, make sure to, give us a phone call. So I have my phone in my hand, and this argument is getting more and more heated. We keep like trying to one up each other. We just keep going up and up and up to the point where she's blocking my way in front of the door to the basement. So I can't go upstairs, to the point where I get mad enough that I just huck my phone across the room as hard as I can. Just pure rage filled me, and it embedded itself in the wall. But keep in mind, I had an OtterBox case on, so my phone was fine.
Oh, nice.
Phone, no damage. Case, pretty broken. But, so, obviously, me and my sister look at each other like, oh, crap. She's kind of smirking. She's smiling a little bit. She's like, you are dead. And I'm like, I am dead. And I blame you. So, long story short, I got in a lot of trouble for that. Because not only did I throw my phone at the wall, but I tried to lie about it to my dad and say that the hole was only like, that big or something like that. When it was like,
it's not that bad.
That big.
It's not a problem.
It went in like this. So it was, he was pretty irate with me. And needless to say, I lost all electronics for 3 months. So I would say that's probably one of the bigger mistakes that I had to learn from pretty hard. If you're mad, don't throw things at walls. It just doesn't go well. And I did have to fix the wall myself, so.
Oh, hey, learn a little how to fix up a hole.
My dad, he got the spackle, he got the paint. He said, "Go ahead."
Nice. Well, since yours was wall related, I'll transition into my wall story. I was going to save it for last because it's sort of an ongoing failure. Like
to this day,
right? Yeah. So you guys have been in my house, like if you were to walk toward the back of the house, like into the little like area where the bathroom is.
Oh no.
you know, on the wall, that like decorative like round thing that's made of little tiny circles.
Yeah.
It's like hanging on the wall right next to the doorway to my parents' room.
Uh-huh.
So I have like knocked into that multiple times. It's just hanging on by like one on the wall by a single nail. And I've knocked into it multiple times, and like the color of the walls in the upper level and the lower level of my house are like this very light gray.
Right.
So and the metal decorative thing is like, you know, dark metal color, and if it rubs on the wall even just a little, it leaves a nice ugly mark, like as if you were drawing on the wall with a fat pencil.
Right.
And like every time I bump into it, if maybe it'll just swing on the nail and leave a big wide like mark where it rocked back and forth on the wall. Or like one time I was like sick in my head, and in my mother's room I was like speaking to her while she was laying in bed, and I like gestured with my hands and knocked into it, and it like fell off the wall, marked the walls, and fell down, and then it rolled along the floor into the hallway by the couch. I was like, dang it.
That's
and I had to sit there and paint the wall.
Dang.
But yeah, like I cannot count the number of times that I've accidentally knocked into that thing, and I keep insisting that if they would just put another nail on there and make it a little more secure to the wall, it wouldn't be as big of a problem, but they refuse to do so.
Right. That's
pretty jacked up.
That's sad. That's what that is.
Guys, leave a comment below if you agree with me that my parents should put another nail in their wall.
I'm gonna comment on this video.
Was that Brian? Passing it back to you.
All
That's
right.
my fail for
So
that round.
my last one that I have on my list. And this is something I've done multiple times. It's not an accident. It's something I do on purpose that I never learned my lesson from. I first did it like I think it was my first Christmas working at Price Chopper. My first Christmas working at Price Chopper. Holidays in retail are absolutely garbage. I mean that's pretty well known. And the whole week leading up to Christmas, or Christmas Eve, technically we had Christmas Day off, but I had been exhausted working my butt off, and by the time Christmas Eve rolled around, everybody was like dead tired. Nobody wanted to be at work. So I had this brilliant idea that, hey, I'm tired. I need energy. Let's grab an energy drink, which is fine. Normal people do that. And as I was getting ready to check out, I look up and I see 5-hour energy drinks sitting up there. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should get one of those. I was like, maybe that will help me. So I got 2 Monsters and 2 5-hour energy drinks.
10 hours of energy.
I opened up my Monster.
You can live forever off those.
I opened my Monster, took a sip of it, and I looked down. I was like, you know what? I wonder what would happen. I wonder if it would give me extra energy if I combined the 5-hour energy with the Monster.
And then he died of a heart attack.
And well, I almost died of a heart attack.
This whole time Brian's been a ghost.
That thing got me sweating so bad. It didn't even give me energy. It just made my body vibrate so much. I was sweating, and my heart rate was like skyrocketing.
You were the Flash.
That sounds so...
Just for a brief second.
That sounds so uncomfortable.
Yeah, well then, like I said, I haven't learned my lesson with it. I've done it 3 other times since then. I'm like, maybe
it'll be different. That's the definition of insanity. I hope you know.
Like maybe this time it'll like actually give me energy. Maybe my body's developed, I don't know, something.
Maybe I have an immunity to it now.
But yeah,
it's like
every time I drink, it feels like I'm going to have a heart attack. Because like my heart just like starts rapidly pulsating, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
That reminds me of. Did you guys see that? Ever see that episode of Regular Show where they ate the like apple fritters that had been like like not deep fried, but like
excuse me,
sugar dipped and like crispified 2 times over, so they're like extra sugary and extra crispy, and they ate them, and like everyone around them, like the world around them, like became slow motion, but to everyone else they were moving really, really fast.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
What if? All right, hear me out. What if you get a red Solo cup? All right, you do what I already said, you put some Fiber Energy, some just a little bit of Monster in there, maybe a little bit of Red Bull,
Put some lime and some coconut, mix it all up.
then you take a few Pixie Sticks, pour them in there, just give it a little extra spice, and then to top it all off, drop a Warhead in there to add some sour flavor to it.
Oh no,
That would not go well.
I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
you go ahead, you go for it, man. But I'm gonna sit that one out. I'm not into sour stuff.
Yeah.
I
Well,
love sour
I'm
stuff.
into sour stuff. I'm not into whatever the heck you just talked about.
Well, I can handle like mildly sour stuff, like certain sour candies, but Warheads, I don't like Warheads.
You don't screw around with Warheads.
That's fair.
No.
That is fair.
Or like, did you guys ever have the toxic waste,
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's
Mr. Toxie Head?
Yep.
Yeah,
Toxic.
it like
Head.
literally
I
came in
never
like
heard
a
of that.
barrel. And the packaging was certainly cool.
All right, David, you're
All right.
up.
All right. This one is a little more brutal than the ones I've talked about in the past, but it actually didn't happen too well. I guess it did happen a while ago. It was our church's youth group went to Apex Climbing Gym, which is a pretty cool place. There's a lot to do there. And it's like the main actual area is like rock climbing, so there's like all this stuff that you can climb up, but there's like a back room that you could like rent out for stuff that's like an American Ninja Warrior course or like a Ninja Warrior course that's got.
When was this?
This was
It was a long time ago.
3-4 years, something like that.
Dang, I was not there.
Yeah,
No,
no,
it was
you
longer
were
than
there.
that.
Was it longer than that?
Mm-hmm. Remember, the last 2 years were COVID, so we often forget to count those.
Yeah, but I thought it was in that realm of like 2018, 2019.
I definitely wasn't there.
Yo, no, you weren't there. But, so I'm running around. I'm having a good time. I'm running up the warped wall, being able to like climb up there, pull myself up, felt super cool. Felt like I could conquer the world. And then I look and there's this rope that has a bell at the top. And the goal of it is climb up, ring the bell. Simple. When you say it like that, climb rope, ring bell, easy money. The thing is with
Return to monkey.
the thing is with this rope is that it's 20 feet tall. It is a 20-foot tall rope. I look at this rope and I'm like, oh yeah, that is a cinch. That'll be easy. So with no prior experience to climbing ropes, no form, no strategy, I just start arm over arm in my way up this rope. Later the instructor showed me that there's a way that you can do it where you can like wrap one foot around it and kind of like use your feet as like a security blanket kind of to like rest on. You can like pull up, bring your legs up, and it'll like stop you, and then you can just like continue that and kind of inchworm your way up. So I probably should stop doing this. But so I was dang near close to the top. I would say I had like a couple feet to go, 3, 4, something like that. So I'm climbing up there and my arms are starting to burn, and my arms are giving out, but I really wanted to get to the top because I was already so far up. So finally I can't take it anymore and I slide down the rope about 5 feet or so, maybe, give or take, before letting go and falling to the ground. Which was fine. The falling part was not bad. There's like really cushiony mats underneath because how else are you supposed to get down? You just jump off, land in a way that you're not going to hurt yourself and just take the fall. But when I got down on the ground, I looked at my hand, and my left hand, the skin on my thumb, middle ring, and pinky fingers had been ripped so far off that it was like deep. I would say like half of a fourth of an inch of just like, okay, but like look at your finger. That's a lot of skin to be gone. Like,
yeah.
I could see my.
Was there blood everywhere?
There was no blood, but I could see my flesh.
Oh.
I could see my flesh, like, because it was burned. So it like, I don't know, cauterized as I went down. because it was a
Ouch.
rope burn. So like
Jeez.
the skin is peeling off my hand. It's burning like heck. I didn't really react that much until a little later when like all the adrenaline wore off. But like my hands, my fingers got like bandaged up. But it was, the healing process was long. There was a divot in my pinky for the longest time. It was bad. It was probably one of the worst experiences of my life.
You know, all this death and not death, serious injury has reminded me of a story of my own that you would have thought I would have remembered. They realized, oh, this would be perfect for this list, but no, it's the story of how I got the scar on my face. It's pretty hard to forget that. Yeah. So if you ever were to see me in person, you would notice that I have a scar on my cheek, right below my right eye. And
it's pretty rad looking.
You know, the joke answer is that I tried to fly like Superman. But here's the reality, right? So I was a little kid. My dad has always driven. Well, there was a brief period when I was in high school where he had like an SUV, but generally speaking, he's always driven like a pickup truck. And he had this red, I think it's a Ford. No, I'm sorry, it was a Chevy. And we had stopped at a gas station at one point, and I don't think it's like this anymore, but like, didn't the pumps used to be up on like, basically it was like a median? It's like raised up on a curb.
Yeah.
Because all right, I'm not crazy because this is otherwise
No.
my story wouldn't make sense.
I know
But
you're.
basically
I know
I was
you're talking
standing.
about.
Yeah, I was like standing on that, and I tried to jump from that back into the truck, the cab of the truck, like without touching the road or whatever
Like-
you want to call the ground.
Like a child would.
In that area, yeah, like a child would. But instead of landing it, I face planted onto the footboard
Oh.
right on the threshold of the door and sliced my face open. I had to get stitches. Yeah, pretty bad fail. They had to, and I was like, I have ADHD. I was a really scared, wriggly kid, so they like strapped me down to a board so they could do the surgery on me.
Jeez, Jake.
That's kind of
Yeah.
funny, actually.
That sucks.
Yeah, I was like, and they, you know what? They didn't put me under, so I'm like sitting there strapped to the board, and for whatever reason they let my dad watch, and I looked over and I'm like, why are you letting them do this to me?
Bro, I bet you made him feel so bad.
Oh, absolutely, I did.
Father, why? Man.
Why?
Man.
Do we
But
have
yeah, and that's how I got the scar that never went away.
Do we have any more stories for this episode?
I do. I can go one more.
Yeah, I have one more.
Go ahead.
All right, David, I'll pass it on to you.
All right. So it's Christmas, right? I'm a little lad. I am enjoying my life. Things are great. I got one of the greatest toys I've ever received in my entire life. Sorry, I'm looking at my sleep. It was a toy helicopter that was probably about like 3 feet long or something like that. Like one of the big toy helicopters. You know what I mean? Hold on, my camera keeps messing up. But it was one of the big toy helicopters. The box said it was indestructible. It could withstand like a pygmy hippopotamus's like
But
weight. Yeah, essentially. So it snowed super bad. Like there was a lot of snow on the ground. So me and my dad, we take it outside, and like I'm kind of messing with the controls. It's like I'm like making the propeller spin a little bit, but it hasn't gone off the ground yet. And my dad goes, "Wait, hold on, I forgot my camera inside. Don't do anything. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get it." He goes inside, and of course I'm like, well, I'm not gonna wait for him. He can start filming when he gets out here, and this baby's airborne. I start flying it, right? It goes up. A miracle. My first flight. I move it forward. Amazing. I felt like a king amongst just mere peasants. And then I realize, how do I turn a helicopter? I don't know what I'm doing. I only know up and forward. I've only seen helicopters do that. So, helicopter is flying, it's going, and it slams into the neighbor's roof and just absolutely shatters the propeller and a couple body pieces. And I just watch it bounce off the roof, fall to the ground, and crash again. And I run over to it. I pick up the broken pieces. I start bawling my eyes out. My dad comes outside. He's looking for me. He goes, David, where are you? I cry louder. He comes over to our neighbor's yard. It's just literally one house down. I'm in the driveway. I look up at him, tears streaming down my face. And I couldn't tell if he was frustrated or if he thought it was hilarious. I'm sure it was a bit of both. But he was like, I left you alone for 15 to 30 seconds, David. How in the world?
Always when it happens.
How in the world did you annihilate this helicopter that could withstand a pygmy hippopotamus so fast? I was like, I tried to fly, Dad. I flew. It was magnificent for like 10 seconds. It was less than that. It was pretty fast. It went. It was pretty abrupt.
That reminds me of that. Have you seen that video of like, it's like on the internet on YouTube, and it's like this home video of a girl at Christmas, and she's like, check out my new toy.
Oh my gosh, I love that video.
Barbie.
I love
this
that.
is how it works. She sets it off, and it goes straight into the lit fireplace.
I love that video so much.
That's one of my favorite videos.
But
classic.
that was my last mistake that I wrote down, obviously.
Yeah, right, yeah. So I guess this is gonna be my last one. This was not that long ago either. This was shortly after COVID hit I guess it was like right before it really took effect.
Right.
Well, no, it was after. It was like, how that period in the summer where like people were like, oh, okay, it's all better now.
Right, yeah.
Mistakenly. So my sister was having a graduation party at Shawnee Mission Park. And we were at that one pavilion that's like at the top of a hill, and at the bottom of the hill is the lake.
I know what you're talking about.
And yeah, and we were most of us were like up at the pavilion, like standing around on the concrete pad where it's like flat, and there was a soccer ball there, and I like tried to kick it. I tried to like thread the needle between two like groups of people and send it rolling down the hill. But instead I kicked it, and it hit a girl in the butt cheek. And I like to think I'm a pretty stealthy individual, and I can fade into a crowd, with relative ease, right?
All right.
Like, obviously, you would have seen me like diving behind to hide like behind people, but
just nonchalantly walk
before
away.
Before I even had the chance to do that, my dad, who's like standing nearby, goes really loudly, "Oh, party foul!" And I just like draw so much of attention to what just happened. I'm like, I am going to strangle you later, because right now you're in the middle of grilling our dinner, but you will die later tonight.
That's amazing.
Let me offer all of you listeners out there yet another pro tip. Don't yell party foul.
Yeah.
You will embarrass your friends or your family or whoever.
Sounds great. You might find it hilarious.
No, yeah, I can't believe you did that, Dad. I felt so betrayed. So mad. I was like...
I thought of one more mistake. If you would be so kind as to humor me.
Be my guest.
But of course, go right ahead, my good sir.
It was not too long ago. Me and some of my friends, we decided to go to the lake, We brought an inflatable with us. It was a kiwi, We blow it up. We spent, 45 minutes doing so probably. We didn't bring a pump with us because, who needs it? And then when we're done with the inflatable, we set it on the beach. And we think, it was a fairly windy day. So we go, how do we stop this from blowing away? Rocks! Rocks are heavy, So we take 10 rocks, maybe. Small rocks, that you could pick up with one hand.
Bad.
And this is a big inflatable. All three of me and my two friends, we could fit on this inflatable. And we did at one point. So we put these 10 rocks in the middle, thinking it would hold. And we go and we have fun. We look up, and a couple minutes later, our kiwi has become a spinning wheel of death, rolling down the beach, plowing people down,
By the wind.
picked up by the wind. My buddy, we're gonna call him Jake. He's running after it. He starts yelling at the families who have just been destroyed by this. Sandcastle's gone. People screaming and crying. He says, "We're sorry. We're sorry." He's running after it. Me and my other friend, we'll call him Brian. We're laying in the sand, losing our minds, laughing as hard as we could possibly laugh. Just watching our blunder roll down the beach. And
Plow over small children.
yeah, and it was probably one of the best things that has ever happened to me. But it was still a mistake, one that we learned from.
It was pretty funny.
For those that didn't understand, that was us, and that didn't happen too long ago.
Yeah,
Actually,
if
I
you want
think
to
we
hear the
did-
full story of that trip, listen to our camping episode.
I was gonna say, I think we discussed that. Yeah.
Subscribe.
Well, boys, it is time to wrap up this month's episode.
Indeed.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us again. As always, you guys are the absolute best, especially the ones that keep coming back. If you're just now joining us, but don't know why you would start at this episode, go back and listen to episode
Oh, I
1.
understand if it comes up on your
But-
dash.
Yeah, hey, listen, man. They want to start where they want to start. It's the latest one until we upload the next one.
But make sure you go back and listen
Yes,
to our.
that is how time works.
If you want to, you could go back through the archives and check out some of our older stuff.
Archives.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. That's all I had. So thank you guys for joining us.
Have a wonderful day, night, wherever you are.
Whatever time it is.
Yep. And
Time
we'll
is
see you
relative.
next time on this amazing award-winning podcast.
Absolutely.
I wish it was award winning.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, I gave it an award.
Yeah, that's fair. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you guys once again for joining us on this month's episode of the Time Capsule Podcast. Our intro music, as always, is Rareness of Existence by Ader Da Silva, and our outro music is called Chill Hot Main by Zakar Valaha. Both of these can be found on pixabay.com. We really appreciate you guys joining us every month, and we really hope you guys are enjoying these episodes. If you would, go hit the subscribe button and the notification bell on our YouTube channel at Quinturkle. I'm going to put the link to that channel in the description below. We have several more videos in the works right now. Go ahead and go enjoy the one we already have up, and we can look forward to seeing you next month.